could you handle yourself in a street fight? As a martial arts expert, I am here to discuss the best martial arts for self-defense situations. I'm going to be ranking every martial art from S tier, you win every time, all the way to just run away. And we are going to be getting into, again, which martial arts would best help you in a self-defense situation. My background in martial arts, I have been studying martial arts for many years. I have a couple years of rusty kickboxing, some wrestling as well. And I am also gonna be, this is gonna be an in-depth tier list. And let's just bring you guys through the tiers. S tier, these are the martial arts where if you have practiced them and you've learned them pretty well, then you are going to win basically every single time. We then have the A tier, we have the B tier, and then we have the C tier, which is you've got a couple tricks up your sleeve. You could do some things offensively with this martial art. Maybe you could cause some sort of damage, right? Then you have the D tier where you may not be able to cause any damage. You may not be a dangerous person, but you're at least a tough out. Like, it's going to be a struggle for the other person to really beat your ass. Okay, and then we have the just run tier. This is for the tier I recommend you just run away, really. So without further ado, let's get into it. Boxing. I'm putting boxing in the S tier. Okay? I'm putting boxing in the S tier. I think that if you practice boxing and you know boxing and you've trained it and you're pretty decent at it, you're basically well equipped for any street fight case scenario. All right. I mean, listen, obviously there are going to be those people that are better than you at boxing. There are going to be those people that know boxing and wrestling, which seems to be the best combination in the martial arts world right now. But again, this is just, okay, if you were to just get scrappy with some random, what are the odds that they know more than you? I mean, I think that even if they know other martial arts, if you know boxing, again, those first couple of seconds where they start storming the gates, they get a little bit too close. They give you a little bit of a shove. Bop, bop, bop. You know, it's just boom. They're out. So again, yeah, if you run into a fucking UFC champion who knows how to wrestle, it could be tough. But even guys that just know wrestling, let's just be in the world where you're up against a guy that's just a gritty, tough man or someone that knows another martial art. Let's just say the person you're in a street fight knows another martial art that's not boxing. I pick boxing every time. And I know the grapplers and the wrestlers are going to be pouting in the comments. Listen, I know that you can, throw some. The wrestlers, they always have that comment. I'll throw you on your head, bro. Yeah, okay? First off, get through the first combination, son. Also, we're not, this is not the world where street fights start. Where everyone's like, all right, man, back up. Take 3 steps apart. Back up. You're going to shake hands. We're going to read the rules. Things just pop off. Okay? Things just pop off. And in the world of reality where things just happen, okay, you don't have time to back up 3 steps. Wrestlers, they're kind of like rams. Kind of like the rams. Or you ever see a ram charge at a person, like, the animal? They have to, take their 3 steps back. They're like catapults. They have to catapult themselves back. You're not doing that in the fight. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe you'll duck under the punch. But I'm picking the boxer to land the fucking punch on the chin. Again, if you have good hands, if you're fast with your hands, most people, they're just not prepared for this, all right? Your average tough guy, all right, probably just thinks he's tough just because he's big. And obviously, being big matters in a fight, of course. Contrary to what a lot of these jiu-jitsu nerds think. But in general, man, you just have some fast hands. You got a couple of combos. Like, anyone that knows how to throw a jab, anyone that honestly knows how to throw a jab, compared to your average Joe, you feel like you can beat King Kong, essentially. So yeah, I think boxing is S tier every single time. Nothing. There's the nothing martial art, which literally means you know nothing. I don't know. I think nothing's kind of underrated because sometimes, for example, let's just get into jiu-jitsu. This sort of ties into nothing. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, where's jiu-jitsu? Where is Brazilian jiu-jitsu? Okay. I'm going to say jiu-jitsu. I'm putting that in the B tier. Okay. This is the thing. I feel like jiu-jitsu gives people a false confidence. Okay. Jiu-jitsu gives people a false confidence. Hold on. I'm not trying to be silly. Listen, as a wrestler, as a former rusty kickboxer, I just think that a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu, they're so used to thinking that, you know, their skill set is really good because they're maybe getting one over on the guy that's one belt above them every once in a while. And they're so used to training in the dojo where you do the warm-ups, you do the rolls, man. Do the rolls. You're doing the rolls in the gym. You do the shake hand and then you start grappling. You know, jiu-jitsu people, they can't really shoot takedowns. They're not takedown artists, that's for sure. The average takedown that you're going to see from someone that does jiu-jitsu has the same power that a 5-year-old could muster. But either way, jiu-jitsu, it's in such a clean and safe environment, right? You almost go into a street fight thinking that this other person is going to abide by the safe bubble that you're living in. And I don't know. I feel like people that do jiu-jitsu, they're almost sort of oblivious to the world of, you know, we're not in your little bubble, all right? We're not in your bubble. And I think someone with nothing honestly could be pretty dangerous for someone that does jiu-jitsu. No. Honestly, guys, nothing. I'm going to say nothing. You know, the thing about nothing is you almost have like this delusional confidence about you to where you're either going to make some big movement, some big wasted movement. You know, people that know nothing, they sort of have an idea of what they would look like in a fight. They think they can handle themselves in a fight. And they're either going to get brutally KO'd. Like, these are the people they'd either get brutally KO'd because they have no ability to brace for a punch. They've maybe never even been punched. Okay? And they're either going to run away, as they should. Honestly, that's why I'm putting it in the just run tier. Or they're going to drastically overestimate what they're capable of. And they're the kinds of people that are going to go into a street fight. You know, maybe someone pushes them and they get a little bit antsy. They're not thinking in the moment like this other person could know a lot. These are the people that either they're smart and they're going to run, they're going to disengage from the fight, or they're going to load up like this. This is what they're going to do. They're going to pick their hands up and they're going to try to Hulk smash you, right? Or they're going to have the most telegraphed punch ever. You know, they're going to get pushed. Hey, back off. And they're going to engage. Despite not knowing anything, they're going to engage. And what they're going to do is they're going to pick up their hand like this. They're going to wind it up. And it's literally going to be like slow motion. And again, this is why if you know boxing, it's like, if you know how to throw a jab, you feel like King Kong. Because again, in front of someone like this, they're going to throw an arm punch. They're not going to have their shoulder snap. They're not going to turn the punch over, right? So again, these people either get brutally KO'd or they run away and they're really smart. But sometimes if you have another person that knows nothing, I'm telling you, the person that believes in themselves, that knows nothing against another person that knows nothing is a dangerous man. Because again, the Hulk smash, like again, I swear people that have never trained martial arts at all, that they might literally just leap on you. That's actually ferocious to the other guy that knows nothing, that's not willing to impose their will, right? The person that's going to be on self-defense mode. If you have no skills against another person with no skills, the way to win is by being tougher than them and fucking moving forward and just beating their ass. Okay? Okay, so like I'm putting the nothing in the just run, but if it's against another person that knows nothing, it can actually low-key be pretty scary. Okay? But yeah, as far as like martial arts, nothing is the worst. You may as well just get out of there. I'm putting jiu-jitsu in the B tier. Listen, we can all joke around about jiu-jitsu and we can sit there and say that, oh, well, jiu-jitsu people are sort of nerdy and they're not super scary. But again, it's like, how many people are actually good enough to really hurt someone and knock people out with their hands? I still think someone that, for example, if you're really good at jiu-jitsu, you could probably win a fight against someone that's like really mediocre with kickboxing. Okay, now if they're athletic, if they're super athletic with kickboxing or boxing, I think that person wins, right? If we're talking about a wrestler, I think the wrestler wins. I mean, wrestlers, they're training to be explosive. I feel like it's a better base for throwing punches to begin with. That's why a lot of people that come from the world of jiu-jitsu, they're kind of slow and they're stiff as a board, right? But again, when it's you versus someone that doesn't really know what they're doing, maybe that's just tough. As long as you get a hold of them, like you could do a lot of damage. But again, it's a street fight situation that we're talking about. And that's sort of the problem is, this is the thing. We have to be real. Other people could jump in. Jiu-jitsu is like the worst martial art to have in a street fight where other people could potentially jump in. Because let's say you have someone in a full Nelson, you're humiliating them, you took their back, you're threatening a choke, you're basically having your way with them. You're basically making them look like a pipsqueak. The next thing you know, you get kicked in the head. That's why I think boxing is the best, because boxing, you throw a quick combination, boom, boom, you chin someone, maybe you rock them, they get respect for you, they don't want any more. Their friend comes in, turn off on an angle, boom, boom, right? You just you mash them up. Boxing's perfect for mashing a couple of people up at the same time, right? You ever see these street fights where a couple of people get knocked out, and then there's like a third guy coming in and he's like running in as the second person's getting knocked out. And they sort of start backing up a little bit. Like they go in and they go out. That's kind of what boxing is like. Boxing is such a deterrent, right? If you see someone get knocked out, you're not going to, even if you kind of know what to do in a fight, you're really not going to want to test the waters there, right? Jiu-jitsu, I don't know, man. You really have to bank on the other person not being that athletic, not knowing anything in a fight. And then, yeah, you can be a monster masher. But I could never put jiu-jitsu in the A tier. It's just not lethal enough. I'm sorry. Sumo wrestling, I'm going to put sumo wrestling in the A tier, dude. Sumo wrestling is actually pretty underrated, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people, they look at sumo wrestling as a bit of a joke. But to be honest, think about it from the perspective of someone that is going up against the sumo wrestler. You're going to get shoved, man. You're going to get pushed. You're going to get shoved. And how are you supposed to beat that, man? Literally, how are you supposed to beat that, bro? Nah, I don't know. I'm putting sumo wrestling. Literally, though, like, how do you win a fight, though? Sumo wrestlers just smother people, right? But like, we're not in a Saw V movie where, you know, people are getting smothered against you're in a room that's 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2 feet, and the sumo wrestler just happens to be stronger, and so he's the one that's not going to suffocate, and you're the one that's going to suffocate. That's not the world that we're in. We're not in a, you know, in the world where people are fighting in phone booths, maybe sumo wrestlers win just because they're a little bit better at just shoving you. But that's not the world that we're in. So I'm putting sumo wrestlers in tough out. Karate, I'm putting karate in B tier, man. Like, if you actually know what you're doing in karate, think about it. Like, think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I know he's a professional. We're not even saying you have to have, like, the skills of the best in the world. Like, I'm not saying as boxing, you have to have Gervonta Davis level of boxing to be really good in a street fight. I think karate can be pretty decent because although you're not going to be as deadly with your punches as a boxer or as heavy with your kicks as a Muay Thai fighter, you have the ability to close distance, like, extremely fast. And against someone that doesn't really know what they're doing, like a karate blitz combination can be very useful for just getting someone off of you in a street fight. Let's go with Dutch kickboxing. You know, I'm going to put Dutch kickboxing in the tough out. I think kickboxing's so much better than Dutch. This tier list is so silly, guys, by the way. There's Dutch kickboxing. There's Chinese kickboxing. Come on. Like, what are we, like, hardcore? Oh, yeah, well, Dutch Dutch kickboxing's so different, man. It's not fucking different at all, dude. Dutch kickboxing is not different. Let's just say kickboxing. We're just going to have this be kickboxing. I'm putting kickboxing in the A tier. I think kickboxing's phenomenal. Again, I think kickboxers, they're not necessarily going to have a lot of space to throw kicks, right? If you're in the middle of a street, right? You ever see these street fights where, you know, two people are fighting on the actual street, not on the sidewalk, and you have someone throwing leg kicks? Okay, that could be good. But in a really close quarters situation, I like boxing better because close quarters punches are going to land before kicks. They're in punching range. And kickboxers aren't as lethal with their boxing, with their punches, as boxers. Now, again, against someone that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, you're going to be pretty good. But still, I trust boxing way more. Judo, I'm putting judo in the S tier, man. I'm putting judo in the S tier. Because if it's a battle in the real world, you have to expect your opponent's going to be wearing a big coat, right? You got to expect your opponent's going to be wearing a big coat, long sleeve shirt. Most places in the world are obviously in cold climates. Most places in the world are obviously in cold climates. People are wearing their Klondike coats. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm putting judo in the few tricks up your sleeve. Like, if someone storms the gates and starts running at you, again, you kind of have to be in peaches and Greenville. You kind of have to be in peaches and Greenville. Like, this is why I think judo is so funny. Judo is like a martial art for pure Olympic sport. It's a martial art that is useful for judo only, and maybe MMA takedowns up against the fence, right? But as far as a street fight goes, when I say you kind of have to be in peaches and Greenville for it to work, like, again, every judo practitioner's way to sort of argue that judo is useful in a street fight is always, when that person starts running at you, man, you can use their momentum against them. You know, someone runs at you, hey, you know, and then you have, you take their coat, you take the Klondike coat. The fucking Klondike coat, dude. To the fucking Let's go! Let's go! The fucking Klondike coat, dude. Okay. The fucking Klondike coat. All right. Like, because people assume that judo, it's like, you always got to be up against someone wearing a winter coat. So yeah, if you're in Siberia, you know, if you're fighting another Eskimo, if you're an Eskimo, I know Eskimos these days, they definitely have computers, they've got Wi-Fi. I think judo is honestly the best fighter in each village. And again, we're talking modern Eskimo villages where they're still eating blubber, they're still doing all these things, but they actually live in houses now. It's just, they're people that are really far up north in Canada. The toughest guy in every one of those villages is a judoka, okay? Because, again though, like, everyone's rocking the fucking Klondike. Everyone's the Klondike bar, the Klondike coat. So, but again, let's just get back to the main point that I was making. You have to kind of be in peaches and Creamville to assume that, like, the world is going to slow down. You ever see, like, I don't really watch anime, but, you know, Dragon Ball Z, there's, like, these images of like, the Dragon Ball Z characters running, and, like, the way that they make it look like they're running fast is have the background be, like, just lines, like, line here, line here, line here. And it's just, like, they're running so fast, the world is just a blur of lines. You have to have that, like, perfect moment where someone's running really fast, but they're almost slowing down. There has to be like a slow-mo moment where you can grab their coat. You could grab the other part of their coat. You grab their sleeve. You grab the collar of their coat, and you toss them over, right? You have to have these perfect moments. Where I feel like in the real world, quite often, if you're waiting and you're standing like this, you've got the wide stance, you're sitting there heavily corded, like Joe Rogan describes chimps. They're like these heavily corded balls of muscle, man. You have to be like a heavily corded person, super dense, rooted to the ground. You know, like, let's be honest, if someone's actually rushing at you fast, because in Olympic Jiu-Jitsu, you start off and you're holding the other person, right? The referee says, go. You shake the hands and you get a hold of them, and then you start grappling. Someone's running at you. How likely is it that you're actually going to be able to get the perfect grip on them, right? But even still, what's to stop that person from just fucking flying in with a front kick? If I'm fighting someone that I know is and now here's the thing about street fights, you don't know. But the point that I'm making is, why can't I just clock you in the back of your head? Straight up, something happens, someone throws a bottle at you, you're in the salty spittoon, you shove someone, okay, and then you lock eyes, and then you start running at them, right? What's to stop you from just fucking clocking them, right? I don't know, man. Is judo really gonna work that well? You've gotta grab a hold of them, and as you're grabbing, right? As you're grabbing, because judokas aren't explosive until they have you in their hold. But to get there, I feel like they're sort of ploddy people. They're ploddy. They're going to plod forward, trying to, bend over at the hips, try to get a hold of you. As that's happening, there are punches flying, right? There are freaking spinning elbows. There are people that don't know how to fight that are just fucking throwing bones around. Just throwing bones, just trying to freaking mash the room up. I don't know. The thing is, if they do have their way, if they do get that grip on you, then you're getting sent to the ground. I mean, you're getting sent flying. You're going to have the wind knocked out of you as you hit the ground, because they will be able to viciously throw you. So again, if things work for a judoka, the fight ends very quickly. And unlike jiu-jitsu, I actually think it is decent for if someone else steps in, because it's very fast. Everything in judo, you throw someone, the wind gets knocked out of them. You can elbow them a couple of times. They might even knock themselves out on the way to the ground. Then you can land a couple of follow-up shots. You pop back up to your feet. The next guy is running at you. You grab him and you throw him, right? You could just continue to throw people. But the problem is, in jiu-jitsu, it's like, you have to tweak this and you have to tweak that. Jiu-jitsu, you're like a baby on the ground, like going like this. You're very vulnerable. But again, judo, you kind of need things to be peaches and creamville. You need things to be absolutely perfect. You need the anime run. You need the anime run, 100 miles per hour run into the slow-mo when they're 1 foot away from you. The world stops. So I don't know. I'm putting judo and a few tricks up your sleeve. But again, if that trick pays off, you're winning in lethal fashion. But I still think jiu-jitsu is better. Again, we clown jiu-jitsu, but this is the thing. If you are in close quarters with someone, it's not that unlikely that you could get your hands on them. You could spin around to the back. You could basically, jump on the body lock, wrap the hooks in. It could be pretty useful. The problem is, it's like you're not in and you're not out. That's the thing with boxing and kickboxing. You could do the damage and then you could out. You could dip, right? You could land a couple of punches and you can run. It's perfect. So yeah, let's get on to the next one. Sambo. I'm putting Sambo in the A tier. Okay. Almost S tier. Sambo, wrestling, judo. Okay. Submissions. It's like everything. It's basically MMA. So I'm going to say if you're really good, I'll put you S tier. I'll say Sambo's like S tier. But again, I still think boxing is better. But I will say that Sambo is probably better than kickboxing, just because, again, kickboxers, against someone that doesn't know what they're doing, their hands are going to be lethal. Against someone that doesn't know what they're doing, if they're in the middle of a street and people are sort of pulling out phones and filming, the kicks are going to be lethal. But I don't know, in a lot of close quarters situations where things are popping off, right? I think someone with Sambo with the ability to wrestle and box and do everything else is going to be super lethal. Western, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like Dutch kickboxing, Western kickboxing. Come on, dude. Like, what are we doing? Let's just have one kickboxing, okay? Then there's Thai kickboxing. Let's just call this Muay Thai. Muay Thai, I'm going to put in the A tier as well. I think Muay Thai is super lethal. Honestly, I might put Muay Thai in the S tier because you can elbow people, you can knee people. I think Muay Thai is better than kickboxing. Kickboxing, I know that in Glory Kickboxing you can throw knees and whatever, but you can't really throw elbows in the clinch. I think Muay Thai is kind of perfect for making up for the lack of hand speed combinations that a good boxer will have, right? Because in Muay Thai, it's perfect for close quarters. Again, you're at the Salty Spittoon, someone throws a bottle at you. The way I imagine these fights happening is just, some bottle is thrown and everyone, it's like that scene in The Lord of the Rings with the orcs and the Urukai in the second movie where the orcs are like, come on, man, we just want to have some meat. And the Urukai's like, no. And then one of the Urukai kills one of the orcs. And then it's all the orcs versus the Urukais, right? I imagine it's like a bottle flies and everyone just starts fighting each other, right? But like, listen, Thai kickboxing, Muay Thai, perfect for close quarters. Like, you're in an elevator. Nothing could be better for winning. If all fights took place in elevators, a Muay Thai fighter wins every time. Okay? A Muay Thai fighter wins every time. Knees, elbows, in close quarters. Boom, boom. Jiu Jitsu, it doesn't even start working it doesn't start working when you get your hands on someone. I mean, that's where it starts maybe, but it's not lethal there. Muay Thai is lethal as soon as you get a hold of someone. You get a hold of someone, as soon as that happens, elbow, right? Knee, right? There's so many different options. That range, you can kick, right? Boxing range, you have different combos. Okay, you can tee off with a combination and then you could finish it with a knee. Muay Thai is perfect for, sinking in those crafty shots that they're not going to expect, right? They're expecting upstairs. Nobody's expecting that knee to the body. They get hit with that knee to the body. Nobody's expecting that elbow coming through. So I think Muay Thai is S tier. Like Sambo. Kung Fu. I got to put Kung Fu S tier. This is the thing about Kung Fu. Everyone disrespects Kung Fu. Nobody disrespects Kung Fu when it's time to actually see what Kung Fu does best. And that is, Kung Fu is the ultimate master of martial arts. I think that Kung Fu, if you've studied it, if you've watched movies on it, I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're a UFC champion. Someone that knows Kung Fu somewhere, some monk that knows Kung Fu that lives in the mountains in China is taking out any UFC fighter. I'm telling you how it is, okay? Again, people talk about, I wonder who the best fighter on the planet is. And I've heard people say, well, it's obviously the heavyweight UFC champ. Some people that have some things to say, well, it's the NCAA wrestling heavyweight champ. Oh no, it's the Olympic jiu-jitsu champ. No, there's no jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, but it's actually some random monk you've never heard of that probably weighs 145 pounds, right? Just does 1,000 sit-ups every single day and wakes up at the crack of dawn, has some green tea, runs to the top of the mountain staircase, 1,000 sit-ups, 10,000 push-ups, practices the same kung fu kick every day, right? Meditates. That's probably the baddest guy on the planet, to be honest. I picked that guy to beat Tom Aspinall any day. So I'm putting Kung Fu in the S tier. Obviously, that's a hardcore take. If you aren't a hardcore martial artist, you wouldn't know that because you're a casual. But let's be honest, I'm putting Kung Fu high A tier. I do think that kickboxing is pretty dangerous, but even the best kickboxers like Alex Pereira are nothing compared to the Kung Fu monks. I'm joking. I'm putting Kung Fu in the... Kung Fu is like a movie martial art, let's be honest. It's really like a movie martial art. The punches are open palms, right? It's hi-yas. It's the actual attacks are, again, chopping actions. Hey, Ha! He. I don't know. I feel like Kung Fu is the martial art for people like weeaboos that like anime, right? Like people that go to Comic-Con and they're dressing up as their favorite anime person, and they have like these little sparring battles with other people and they're doing the hi-ya chops and they're getting, one of them gets a little bit too into it, right? And maybe they're minorly autistic and one of them starts actually chopping hard and someone says, ow, that actually hurts, man. And they walk away thinking they're the toughest guy on the fucking planet, all right? But that person gets into a street fight and they start doing their hi-yas. Some guy that doesn't know what they're doing at all honestly might destroy them. So I don't know. I'm putting Kung Fu in the just run tier. I'm putting Kung Fu. No, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm putting Kung Fu in the just run tier. I don't know. I feel like hi-yas, that shit works in Kung Fu Panda. That shit doesn't work in the real world. So if you're up against a sumo wrestler and you're doing some shit like that, they will just engulf your freaking chop. Okay, your chop like this, they'll engulf it and they'll just shuck you to the ground. To be honest, I actually don't know anything about Kung Fu. There actually could be some savages that know Kung Fu. Oh yeah, who's that guy, the king of Kung Fu? Oh, what's his name in the UFC? My good friend. Now I'm actually starting to sound like a casual. But let's be honest though, let's be honest. Is Muslim Salikov really doing Kung Fu? Come on, guys. Muslim Salikov's like a former Sambo guy. That's like Dagestan Kung Fu. That's like Sambo, basically. Don't be telling me, Muslim Salikov. Dude, Muslim Salikov, I know Muslim Salikov. That guy does kickboxing. We're talking Disney Kung Fu. That shit's in the just run tier. Folk style wrestling. Well, let's get freestyle wrestling in here. Freestyle, I'm putting freestyle wrestling in the A tier. I think it's A tier. Folk style, I'm going to put it a notch below, okay? Folk style is more plotty man's wrestling, a little bit more folksy, a little slow, right? We're not caught up in the world of fast city slickers, and we're doing the folk style wrestling. So folk style, I'm putting it in the B tier. Freestyle, more well-equipped for the modern world, okay? You're actually going to have some explosive ability. You're going to be able to duck under a punch, and of course, as the wrestlers always say, throw you on your head. Like, yeah, I guess you could throw someone on their head if they really don't know what they're doing. So obviously that's pretty lethal. But again, I think that I almost favor someone with really fast hands to win a lot of these exchanges, right? Because some wrestlers, like, everyone always assumes that the wrestler in a street fight is going to have like Jordan Burroughs level of speed, right? They're going to have Hamzat Chimaev level of speed and quick twitch ability with their shot. A lot of wrestlers are more along the lines of the Askren, right? They're more along the lines of the Curtis Blades, where it's like, if they get their hands on you, then you're going to not be technically aware and proficient enough to stop them from doing what they're doing because it's becoming very technical. Right? They get their hands locked, you're going for a ride. But again, they're not always Jordan Burroughs. Okay, if you have someone with Jordan Burroughs level of speed, yeah, man, like you're probably getting taken down if you're a good boxer. But I kind of favor a mid boxer over a mid average Joe wrestler, if that makes sense, in a street fight. Now, again, if it starts where the ref, if we're talking MMA, I go with the wrestler. This is not MMA. This is not, all right, shake hands, we're going to back up, everyone take 3 steps back. That's kind of what it is for wrestlers. You got to take 3 steps back, and the fight's going to start when you both agree. When things are random, I kind of favor the mid-boxer, if that makes sense, okay? But yeah, I do favor freestyle wrestling above jiu-jitsu for sure, because it gives you a better base at explosive fighting, and therefore I feel like freestyle wrestlers, they do have a better ability to just be natural strikers, to throw a big old right hand. That's why a lot of, for example, people like Bo Nickel, a lot of people that go into MMA from a high-level wrestling background, even if once they get to decent high levels of competition, they're getting beat, like Bo Nickel, for example, at a very early stage when they're facing relatively low levels of competition, just like, average Joe fighters, they are pretty lethal on the feet. it's because they're so good at shooting takedowns and being kind of explosive. They're so good at throwing an overhand, right? And that can hurt people. That can knock people out. Folk style wrestling, again, it's very slow twitch. It's, you got to go from point A to point B. I don't know. I think that's sort of there with jiu-jitsu. But jiu-jitsu, again, compared to someone that doesn't know what they're doing, lethal, right? If you're truly in a one-on-one where no one's going to step in, lethal. Because, again, there are people watching this that haven't actually trained jiu-jitsu. Just by watching the UFC, different submissions. Like, how to get to the back, get the body lock, body triangle, and take someone's neck and choke them out, right? You know how to hit a head and arm triangle. Even someone that doesn't train jiu-jitsu has a massive advantage just knowing those submissions. Now imagine actually training it. It's going to be big. So I almost kind of want to put jiu-jitsu in the A tier, but again, I think there is a little bit of this false confidence that some of them may have because they're used to going into the dojo and feeling like, yeah, this is the toughest room on the planet that I'm in. I'm in a room with killers right now. Killers, man. And then, they're just in a pajama room where everyone's wearing pajamas, right? And they're shaking hands. Hey, yep, shaking hands, man. We're in the jiu-jitsu bubble. But like when you leave the jiu-jitsu bubble, you got some Muay Thai savage who's just, throwing elbows, right? I prefer that in a street fight. So Taekwondo. I'm putting Taekwondo in the B tier. I think Taekwondo is sort of like the real world Kung Fu. Again, very different, but sort of like karate. Listen, actually, you know what? I'm putting it in few tricks up your sleeve because at least karate, I feel like you can have that karate blitz that can propel you to throwing fast punches. Taekwondo is all kicks. And street fights, they're usually not, where you have the perfect amount of space where you're in the, all right, every street fight that starts, both people blink and they're automatically in an octagon, or they're in Joe Rogan Rules basketball court where they have all the space to roam. It's like, yeah, if that's how street fights took place most of the time, or self-defense situations took place, for sure. I think that Taekwondo people would be tough to deal with, right? For a wrestler, I think that a wrestler could beat them, right? Jiu-jitsu, it's a 50-50 where jiu-jitsu people are kind of slow and plotty and stiff as a board on the feet. They could get flatlined by someone that does Taekwondo. I kind of trust the wrestler to dip their head off or, get out of the way or have a stronger high guard. Jiu-jitsu people's high guard, they're like flimsy pool noodles, right? Jiu-jitsu people high guard, they've got like pool noodles for forearms. I love how like rage baited the jiu-jitsu community is going to get from this. But either way, just jokes a little bit, guys. Just joking around a little bit. But either way, Taekwondo, I'm actually trying to think about, like, if I was to fight a Taekwondo Olympic gold medalist, their Taekwondo doesn't mean anything if I'm in boxing range. And they're not going to have the ability to say, hold up. Can you just back up for a second? Back up. We have to fight a kicking range. No, we don't have to. I can just grab a hold of you and a judoka's going to be able to mess you up. I feel like a judoka and a Taekwondo person 50-50. Taekwondo, you're winning 100% of the time if it's at range. Judo, you're winning 100% of the time if you're in boxing range. Because even though Taekwondo people could throw some hands, I feel like they're not going to be good enough. Taekwondo people have peppermint patty punches. Taekwondo people have peppermint patty punches. Catch wrestling. Oh, catch wrestling. I have to put catch wrestling in the S tier, man. Because freestyle wrestling, Olympic style wrestling, I got that A tier. But catch wrestling, dude, that's where you're catching people and wrestling the man. That's a joke. I'm fucking tired of this. Technically, the catch wrestling is going to be different, man. Aikido. I am putting Aikido. Honestly, I'm putting Aikido in the tough out. I think I don't know anything about Aikido, but I just know that it's more realistic than Kung Fu. I think Aikido is one of those things where it's like the pressure point holds. Isn't that what Aikido is? It's the pressure point holds. Yeah, I think Aikido pressure points are actually lethal. Because if you get in a street fight and someone grabs your forearm, and Aikido people are super fast once they get a hold of you. Aikido people are like, how when you're fighting an animal, the animals are so fast Animals can beat you based on having weirdly quick and erratic movement. Aikido people are just very erratic. They get your forearm, right? Let's just say you shove one of them and they grab your forearm. They're not just like pulling it in. They're going like they're whipping your forearm up, and you're kind of startled by how fast they are going to grab your forearm. And then the next thing you know, they're putting their thumb on, on the jugular. I'm just coming up with like some name for a vein that would be uncomfortable for someone to. They got their thumb on the jugular vein, in the forearm jugular. And then they have their pinky, and it's wrapping around on the funny bone. And they hit you with a little wiggle like this. The next thing you know, you're pretty uncomfortable. You're pretty uncomfortable. Now, of course, nothing's to stop you from fucking clocking them with the other hand and just fucking, nothing's to stop you from headbutting them or, essentially, Aikido, it only works if you allow it to work. Like, if you are mesmerized, if you are put in some kind of a trance and you're hypnotized, and for whatever reason, you allow yourself to just turn off and basically remove the battery pack from yourself, then of course, Aikido, they're going to fuck you up. They're going to hurt you. Again, Aikido, they're the masters at inflicting pain without inflicting damage, if that makes sense. You're going to be in a lot of pain, but you're not going to have any damage. You're not going to get injured. You're not going to get knocked out. You're not going to walk away unscathed. Aikido is the thing where it just makes you uncomfortable. So if you have some level of grit, okay? For example, I think Aikido against one of these Disney Kung Fu people, one of these freaking Kung Fu nerds, I think Aikido is essentially the equivalent to being Ilia Topuria in front of these guys. Really, like, if you know Aikido and you're up against one of these Haya people, right, that watches anime and thinks they know how to fight, sort of like, Death Sentence is kind of like an example of that. Although Death Sentence actually imposes his will, so he's a little bit different. And he learned from Demetrius Johnson how to do a couple of submissions, so I feel like he's been taken to a new level. But either way, against one of these Haya people, Aikido, you knowing it, you're literally like Ilia Topuria. It's the equivalent of having someone that knows nothing versus someone that knows how to wrestle and box. You're cooked. Because the Haya person, they're going to throw their Hayas. Haya people are in like this, they're in their own world. They're not really connected to reality anyway. Okay? They're not really connected to reality anyway. They've a glazed over look in their eyes. They're sort of blank and they're saying, Hiya, hiya, right? Aikido person catches one of their forearms, whips it up, puts their thumb on the the vein and puts their pinky on the funny bone and just wiggles it once, right? And then twists it and starts applying pressure. That Haya person is going to start crying. And this is the thing. The Haya person, they are the kind of person to just have no grit because they're the people that they don't actually know what it's like to be punched. They have a big false sense of security from watching animes, right? And winning a sparring session at one of these Comic-Con events, and maybe, it gets a little bit too real. Like, they're sparring a friend and, both people are a little bit autistic, but one of them is just actually chops a little bit too hard and the other person gets injured and they start feeling like they're the baddest guy on the planet. The Aikido person, who is definitely a little bit weird, but not totally lost, I think is going to absolutely ruin them. Like, they'll be like a crocodile with a gazelle, really. Because, again, if you have any level of grit, if you're a nothing person, you can only lose to an Aikido person if you have no grit. But if you have grit and you're a nothing person, if you are just tough, if you're just a tough son of a bitch, stubborn, and you know nothing, the Aikido person's screwed. Because, yeah, it may feel uncomfortable. They put a little pressure point on you. But all you got to do is just shuck them out the way and start teeing off on them, and they don't know how to fight back, right? They don't know how to fight back. But, yeah, against these Kung Fu people, they are the kinds of people where they feel pressure point and they feel like they're in that scene in Dune where the guy puts his hand in the box and it's like the most painful thing and he has to not flinch. If you've seen the movie, essentially he puts his hand in this box. It's the most painful feeling on earth, and it's like a test to see how gritty you are. They feel like that. The Kung Fu Hi-Ya person feels like that, but they feel like there's nothing they can do to get out of it. The whole world goes dark. It's like a tornado has just hit the world. And you could basically keep them there for the rest of their life, honestly. But yeah, I think the Aikido is definitely a tough out for anyone because even if you're like Fedor Emelianenko, dude, if someone grabs your forearm, Fedor Emelianenko is gonna have you can't be Fedor Emelianenko is gonna let out a grunt where he's in pain. He's gonna like he's gonna do one of those. If you're an Aikido person, Fedor's going to have a little bit of an annoyed sounding grunt. Like, he's going to feel that. It's definitely a little painful, okay? But again, they grab your arm. All you got to do is this, right? You just have to punch them. You just clock them, right? Headbutt them. You just have to, literally, if you're just smart and you have any wherewithal, you could literally just like close the distance so that there's less room for your hand to be manipulated, and you just have to get close to them and just start grappling with them. That's all you have to do. Just grab their hand and start fighting the hand. And it's instant. Once you get the pressure point off, now you're Ilia Topuria. So, yeah. I think that's definitely something I would say about Aikido. Aikido, again, against certain people will be the scariest matchup in the history of the world. Let's be honest, Aikido is kind of underrated in that regard. I hope I'm representing Aikido correctly. I hope that it's about the pressure points, right? It's like holding someone and then like going like this, bopping them on the chest and they fall back, right? Like only someone that is going to like buy into the game, pretending game, is going to fall back. But someone with actual levels of grit. If you have any level of grit, you're fucking winning that battle every time. You're winning that battle every time. Next up, we have Lethwei. I am going to put Lethwei in the S tier. That's right, Lethwei. Essentially, it's Muay Thai with headbutts. Okay? It is essentially, in my opinion, it's like the epitome of a tough man sport. Muay Thai is a tough man sport. The Muay Thai culture, if you go to Thailand, you're training Muay Thai and you're around people that are fighting in Muay Thai, that's their whole life. It's normal for them to fight once a week. It's normal for them to fight multiple times a week. Like, Lethwei is that, so you got to be super tough to be doing that. I mean, think about it. Like, in the UFC, people have a 15-minute striking battle and they're out of the cage for the next 7 months healing up. In Muay Thai, these guys are so conditioned, they're in there every week, right? Now, of course, MMA training incorporates a lot of grappling, which is very risky as far as getting injured is concerned. And then in the training camps, I'm not acting like people only get injured in fights. You get beat up in training camp or whatever, you need time off. But either way, I understand that it's easier to recover in a world of kickboxing, but still, Lethwei, headbutts. It's like Muay Thai, but now you have the ability to headbutt someone. I think that could be the scariest thing to face if you're in a Salty Spittoon environment, right? If you're in the Salty Spittoon and again, you see the you see the bottle flying. That's like the way that fights are gonna start in our imaginary world, okay? The bottle starts flying. Someone just chucks a bottle, everyone looks at it, everyone's head goes up, looks at the bottle. As soon as it lands, everyone just goes into a fighting frenzy. If you're standing in front of a Lethwei guy, you could know boxing. Guess what? That guy is looking at you and he's literally just headbutting you. And people are not prepared for that level of savageness. They are not prepared for that level of savageness. Imagine being one of these Aikido guys or a Kung Fu guy. Imagine being one of these Kung Fu guys, Hi-Ya guys, with someone that knows Lethwei in front of you. Like, if one of these Kung Fu guys gets rendered into a sacrificial lamb for Ilia Topuria against an Aikido person, that's essentially like a human being versus a fucking ant. It's like, it's the level of difficulty you have in fighting an ant. All you have to do is step on them, squash them with your freaking thick finger, okay? It's that easy. If you know Lethwei, that other person is not prepared for the level of violence you're about to bring to them. Honestly, same thing with Jiu Jitsu. I feel like if you know Jiu Jitsu and you think you're super tough, the bottle goes flying. You're starting to feel confident. You're like, yeah, man. As you see the bottle flying, you're like, yeah, all my Jiu Jitsu hours in the dojo have paid off. And then you start feeling like, you're pretty tough. Next thing you know, some crazy bald guy. My vision of someone that knows Lethwei is like a bald guy. Okay? Because I think that I saw some Lethwei documentary on the martial arts expert, by the way. I saw some Lethwei documentary where the guy that was like talking about Lethwei was like a bald guy. Forget his name. He's probably like some Lethwei legend. But like, yeah, you're like some jiu-jitsu nerd that competes in jiu-jitsu. Like let's say you're an 80cc savage. Okay? 80cc savage. Compared to the average person, you're going to absolutely tear their limbs off. Fair enough. Dude, you're in front of some Lethwei guy. You think you can go out there with your plotty little day one of wrestling takedown? Yeah, fucking right, dude. You're getting a fucking headbutt right to your nose. They are smashing their forehead against your nose. You're instantly going to think, what have I gotten myself into? I'm not prepared for this. This other person, this is like a hitman it's like you're fighting a hitman in a John Wick movie. It's like you're fighting John Wick. It's literally like you're up against one of the assassin henchmen in one of these John Wick style movies that's able to just like, destroy 1,000 people, right? It's one of these like unrealistic movie scenes where the main character is just effortlessly beating the shit out of 10 people that are fighting him at once. That's kind of what Lethwei is like. So I know I'm glazing Lethwei a little bit, but I gotta say Lethwei's in the S tier. Lethwei is absolutely lethal. Next up, we have Tai Chi. Tai Chi, I'm going to put Tai Chi in the A tier, honestly. I'm putting Tai Chi in the A tier. This is the thing about Tai Chi. Of course, we understand it's like a very old world martial art. I don't know, though. I think that it's underrated, and I'll tell you why. Tai Chi, essentially, you're taking a walk in your local park and usually see like a group of 80-year-old Chinese ladies, and they're doing Tai Chi, and they're playing the Chinese music. Okay, but they're 80 years old. Imagine if it was someone like me. Imagine if it was someone with grit, with athleticness and explosive ability. And imagine if it was someone with, athleticism and the wherewithal. Like, of course, it's not so scary when an 80-year-old is doing it. But have you ever actually seen someone not 80 do Tai Chi? I have. Most people haven't. It's scary. It's terrifying. Essentially, people think Tai Chi is all slow movements. They think Tai Chi is all flowing movements, right? And going like this and going like this. It's just slow because the people you see doing it are slow. They're 80. They're like 85. Actual Tai Chi, real Tai Chi. This is a hardcore martial arts take. Real Tai Chi owns people that don't know what Tai Chi is. Real Tai Chi is legit. It's badass. It's gritty. It's dangerous. You stand there rooted to the ground and you start flowing. It's basically like, you don't know until you do it, but I think Tai Chi is really badass. I'm just joking, guys. I got to put Tai Chi in the just run tier. Sorry. That's just how it is. I got to put Tai Chi in the just run tier. Wing Chun. Tony Ferguson Wing Chun. I'm putting Wing Chun in the few tricks up your sleeve. Okay? Wing Chun is like a poor man's Muay Thai. It's basically Muay Thai, but you're fighting wooden Wing Chun dummies, and you're essentially almost in Peaches and Creamville. You have a false sense of reality, right? Wing Chun, okay, you have your Wing Chun dummy with wood, and it's like whack-a-mole. It's like, oh, I got to whack the mole here, got to whack the mole here. Every Wing Chun dummy doesn't actually look like a person. It's not like got 2 arms and 2 legs. It's got like 10,000 arms, 10,000 legs. And so, yeah, it's perfect if you could just stand in front of a Wing Chun dummy and just, feel like you're just making up techniques. And I'm sure if you're getting a good sweat going and you're getting the endorphins going, you feel like you're working out, man. You're hitting all the things and you feel like, man, I'm a savage. You start doing this, you start doing this, you start doing this. It's like a Muay Thai speed bag. Right? Boxers, if all you do is the speed bag, you're going to think that punching is just about going like this. Try doing that in the fight. You're getting fucked up. Same thing with Wing Chun. If you think fighting is just whipping your arms around and like, again, in Wing Chun, it works because you're literally like, the dummies are made for you to hit them no matter what. The dummies are made for you to hit them. If you were to just go like this, if you were to tilt your head like this, you're hitting something on the Wing Chun dummy. If you lift your hand like this, not even trying to hit it, that's a 3-piece combo in Wing Chun. So, like, listen, it's one of those things where you see Tony Ferguson doing it. Yeah, if Tony Ferguson only uses Wing Chun in a street fight, he's so good at it. Like, he's got other athletic and martial arts abilities. It's going to work a little bit better for him, but you literally just have to take one step back from someone that is doing Wing Chun at you. And you just take one look at them and you start laughing. That's basically what it is. You take one look at someone that's doing Wing Chun. Now, Wing Chun in a phone booth, it could be pretty good, especially if the person is athletic. It could be pretty lethal. Because, again, it's like, okay, if you have some nerd that weighs 140 pounds doing it, it doesn't look that scary. But, let's say Tom Aspinall's doing Wing Chun. Okay, then it can be kind of scary if you're in a phone booth, right? But, again, when in doubt, you're up against a Wing Chun person, take a step foot out, okay? Step back, one step back, and you see them, and it's like, it's as if you're seeing someone tweaking. That's what it looks like. It's like someone's tweaking. And then you're like, okay, I see what this is. I see the big trick. It's just a bunch of fast moves. You're trying to confuse me. I see what it is. It's just a big blur. It's a confusion. That's all it is, man. That's all it is, a big confusion. But again, I do think it's more lethal than... I do think it's more lethal than Kung Fu. I do think it's more lethal than Kung Fu because, again, it's like Kung Fu, you're doing high Oz. Wing Chun people are actually like throwing elbows a little bit and they're a little bit faster with it. So I do kind of respect it more, but I'm putting that in the tough out, to be honest, right? I think Judo beats a Wing Chun person because a Judo person, you have to be kind of tough to be doing Judo because you got to be learning how to get thrown on your back, have the wind knocked out of you multiple times. It's a battle. You have to be strong. You have to be kind of gritty, right? You have to be rooted to the ground. You have to have a serious mentality while doing it, right? And Taekwondo, like you're kicking people really hard and you're getting kicked really hard. I feel like Judo beats Wing Chun. I think Judo, essentially to beat a Wing Chun person, you have to accept that you're going to get clipped a couple of times with some elbows that don't hurt that much. The amount of damage that's being inflicted on you in Wing Chun is like the equivalent to the amount of damage that someone can have. Like when Volk fought Makhachev in the 4th round, Volk's throwing these noogie punches at Makhachev, or like Khamzat Chimaev's performance against Dricus, a lot of the ground and pound that people were critiquing him for throwing because they weren't really significant strikes. Just little shots, little pip-pap shots. They're annoying. They're nuisances. Literally, take your hand like this, punch yourself like that, right? You only have this much distance. Punch yourself like that 500 times. It's going to piss you off. The point is, as long as you're tough enough to get hit by like 4 of those, like you're not going to get KO'd, okay? You're not going to get KO'd. The only time when someone that knows Wing Chun will KO you is if they start getting into a groove, right? Like maybe they land a lucky elbow in your eye socket and you can't see, and all of a sudden like, oh fuck, they just hit my eye in the right spot. And then they start getting into a groove, then they're going to start really mixing in the elbows and it's going to start getting ugly. But as long as you're not getting hit right in the middle of the eyeball, the perfect spot, you just have to be willing to deal with a couple of nuisance punches and elbows that are not going to actually harm you, that are just going to annoy you. You win. Okay, you win. So, yeah. That's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. That is the martial arts tier list. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time.